Hey everybody, mel0n here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be finishing up part 2 of my review of the X-Raypad X SkyPad Obsidian Pro dot skates. Now, if you missed the first video or part 1 of this video, which was my unboxing and first impressions, if you want to see what's included in the installation and that kind of stuff, you can go check that video out if you haven't already. Today is going to be a much more deeper dive into how the skates perform on glass pads like the SkyPad 3.0 and a couple other things as well. Now, before we get into it, I did want to say a big thank you to X-Raypad, who was kind enough to send out the Obsidian Pros for review, so thank you very much to them. As always, this video will be fully subtitled and we'll have timestamps available down in the description. Now, as always, when I talk about X-Raypad products, I do want to be fully transparent. I do have an affiliate code with X-Raypad. However, that affiliate code just exists for people who want to support the channel while buying products from X-Raypad. X-Raypad is not paying me for it to promote their products or anything like that. As you've seen with previous videos and other videos covering X-Raypad products, I will always give you the truth about every product you see here on the channel, regardless of an affiliate code or a discounted or a free units. All right, now before we get into the full video, I did want to talk again about MagicMind. I've been working with them to review their all natural productivity shots. Now, these have been awesome. I've been using them for about a month now, and they've been a fantastic substitute against coffee and other energy drinks that cause a lot of jitteriness and cause caffeine crashes and all that kind of stuff. And these little bottles, despite them being so small, give me more than enough energy and focus for my entire day. They've been a really awesome product to test out. So thank you very much, MagicMind, for working with me to do a review of their product. It's actually a very cool product. I'll definitely be trying to get my hands on it again in the future. And if you end up trying some MagicMind for yourself, be sure to use code mel0n20 to save a little bit of money off of your first subscription to MagicMind. So the Obsidian Pros are a little different from the regular Obsidians, where the regular Obsidian skates came in dots, donuts, and they also come in a bunch of pre-cut options. The Obsidians are a little different, where they only come in dot skates. They're only sold in packs of 40. They do retail for around $15 USD. However, just like we see with all of X-Raypad's products, are often cheaper if you buy it from them. I believe it's around $11.99 USD if you buy it from X-Raypad. If you buy it from a third-party retailer like Lethal Gaming Gear or any other distributor, it's going to be the full retail price of $15.99 USD. All right, now when it comes to the Obsidian Pros versus the regular Obsidians, the biggest difference is that the Obsidian Pros are specifically designed for glass pads, whereas the regular Obsidians are a more universal skate that work on every kind of pad, as we've talked about before on the channel. Now, you still can use the Obsidian Pros on other pad types like fabric or whatever you'd like to do. However, glass is the recommended use case for these skates. Now, I'll talk about how the Obsidian Pros perform on non-glass pads later in this video, but I wanted to focus on the glass performance first. Now, aside from the ideal use case of the Obsidian Pros being best on glass, there's also some differences in the material makeup between the regular Obsidians and the Obsidian Pros. So the regular Obsidians were made out of a hardened PTFE material, where the Obsidian Pros are made out of an ultra-high molecular weight polyurethane, or uhmw-pe for short. This polyurethane material is what gives the Obsidian Pros their superior glass pad performance, as opposed to the hardened PTFE found on the regular Obsidians. Now, you can actually physically see the material difference if you look at both the Obsidian skates and the Obsidian Pros under a microscope, where the regular Obsidians have a smooth plastic-like texture, where the Obsidian Pros have this like cellular kind of structure under the microscope. Since there is a material difference between the Obsidians and the Obsidian Pros, I wanted to see how good the durability was on the Obsidian Pros, because apparently the Obsidian Pros are supposedly supposed to be better than the regular Obsidians in terms of wear and tear. So what I did is I took a fresh Obsidian skate and a fresh Obsidian Pro skate, and I put them both on a mouse, and basically what I did is I just did circles on the mouse pad. Now, I tried to keep all the pressure onto the dot area as much as I could, but it's kind of difficult to do so. So this isn't going to be a super accurate representation of what the wear is going to be like on these skates for long-term use, because again, different pressures, different angles, and that kind of stuff is going to vary with the wear, but I wanted to give you kind of a rough idea. Now, what I found is that both the Obsidian Pros and the regular Obsidians are extremely resistant to wear. I'll be honest with you though, I don't really notice a huge difference between the wear patterns on the regular Obsidian PTFE dots and the Obsidian Pros. They're very similar. There is a difference in how the wear works. So the regular Obsidians had more of a scratchy texture after I did my testing on them, whereas the Obsidian Pros kind of have like a buffed texture to them, which is very odd. There still was some scratching on them, but the contact points seemed to kind of like buffed more than anything. So it wasn't really necessarily wear on it. It was more just like buffering the skate down, which is very, very interesting. All right, now in terms of testing methodology, just like I did when I talked about the Obsidian and the Jade dots, I tested the Obsidian Pros on every single mouse pad and glass pad I had in my collection and compared them directly against the performance of the original Obsidian dots. Now, for the Obsidian Pros, I tested them on my Pulsar X2H and I put 6 of them on that mouse, and then for the regular Obsidians, I put those on my Sprime PM1 and I also put 6 dots on that mouse. All right, so let's start off and talk about hard pad performance. So with the hard pad testing against the Obsidians and the regular Obsidians, I tested them on the SkyPad 3.0, the IKEA Glass Acerapad Kit, and the MPET Speed M. Now, I know the MPET Speed M isn't a glass pad, it's more of a resin pad, but I figured I'd keep it in the loop with the other harder pads. Now, compared to the original Obsidians, the Obsidian Pros are significantly more controlled, but it's not a massive jump like you'd expect. I put them on par with the 4 Obsidian donuts on my X2 V2 in terms of control, at least when compared to the 6 Obsidian dots on my X2H. Now, obviously, since they are dot skates, you can add or lessen the control by adding more dots. I prefer keeping my dot range from 4 to 8. Again, you can add more if you want to, but I do kind of think that if you put more on, it would be almost too slow and too controlled, where it'd make glass pads feel extremely muddy. But overall, the Obsidian Pros did perform very well. They performed consistently across every single pad. There wasn't really a massive difference aside from the natural aspects of that pad. Like the IKEA glass is a little faster than the SkyPad 3.0. So there wasn't like a standout pad where they performed better on. They did obviously perform better than the Obsidians because they're way more controlled, so they felt better on glass. But again, it's a very fine line before the skates become so controlled that it kind of ruins the aspects of a glass pad, because again, you use a glass pad for speed, and these skates kind of cut down on that speed a little more than I would want them to, where the regular Obsidians don't necessarily do that. So it's a very fine line. They are better than the Obsidians in terms of performance on glass pads, but at the same time though, they are on a very thin line between being too controlled. Next up, let's talk about soft pads. Now, there are a bunch of these. I'm not going to name them off just because that's going to take forever, but across the board, I did find that the Obsidian Pros severely struggle when it came to softer pads. Because of their polyurethane nature, they felt so slow on glass pads. That slowness is massively amplified on fabrics, specifically softer fabrics, where it makes the skates extremely high friction. So much so that they almost, for a lack of a better word, feel sticky. Like when you go to move your mouse, you feel like you have to fight the pad and kind of have the pad let go of the skates to a degree, which is very weird because the skates aren't sticky. Like there's no stickiness to them if you run a hand across them. But when they integrate with a fabric surface, specifically a softer fabric surface, they become very, very high friction, a lot more than we saw on the glass pads. Now, even though I was only using 6 of the Obsidian dots on my X2H here, the extra friction just made these almost unusable just because there was so much static friction required to get your mouse moving. But when you compare the performance between the Obsidian dots, which are universal and they work on everything, the Obsidian Pros really struggle here, which is sad because I was kind of hoping the Obsidian Pros would be kind of decent for some pads, but for the most part, they are just unusable. They are just way, 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 way too high friction for pretty much every single pad. And again, I'm only using 6 dots. If 4, maybe you could get away with it, but they're just way too high friction for fabric pads, which is really unfortunate to see. The regular Obsidians just perform way better across the board when it comes to soft pads. Alrighty, now let's talk about the audio feedback. Now, this is another area where the Obsidian Pros were supposedly going to be a big improvement over the Obsidians, and I will say there is actually a pretty big difference here. The regular Obsidians did have a lot of feedback through the skates themselves and audio feedback as well when using them on harder pads. The Obsidian Pros are definitely better. They have less feedback from the pad and they also have less audio feedback. But as I mentioned before, the Obsidian Pros, you are losing a lot of the speed that does come from a glass pad. So it is a trade-off there. Again, you're getting a quieter experience, but you are losing a lot of that speed. In all honesty, with my testing, I found the audio levels from the Obsidian Donuts and the Obsidian Pros to be pretty much the same, and the performance was pretty much 1 for 1. So again, this is another area where the Obsidian Pros kind of fall short because yes, they are better than the Obsidian Dots, but they are not as good as the Obsidian Donuts because the Obsidian Donuts felt more consistent on glass and they also had better audio feedback as well. So this is kind of another mixed success area for the Obsidian Pros. Alrighty, now one other thing I wanted to talk about here was reusability. Now, when I previously talked about the Jade dots, I didn't really like those skates because they were only good on specific mouse pads and also they were not reusable because whenever you tried to peel them off the bottom, the PTFE skate would peel away from the adhesive, leaving the adhesive on the bottom of your mouse, which is really frustrating. But unfortunately, the Obsidian Pros kind of fall into the same section as the Jades here, where they are very unreusable because the moment you try and take them off, the adhesive peels off the bottom. Now, if you just put them on, you just quickly need to peel them off to reposition them. That should be fine. But the moment you leave them on for an extended amount of time and the adhesive sets, you're pretty much done. So unfortunately, when it comes to reusability, the Obsidian Pros are quite bad as well, which is really unfortunate. I was really hoping these were going to have the same reusability as the regular Obsidian dots, but unfortunately they're more like the Jades. So be very careful when you are positioning them on the bottom of your mouse. Just be really careful, make sure you line it up right the first time because you may not be able to reuse the skate depending on how long you let the adhesive set. Alrighty, let's talk final thoughts. Now, this is kind of a weird one because the X-Raypad Obsidian dots are definitely an improvement over the regular Obsidians. However, the Obsidians are no longer the main skate. There is also the Obsidian Donut skates. And as I mentioned before when I was talking about audio feedback, where the Obsidian Donuts have the pretty much exactly the same audio feedback as Obsidian Pros, there is also a lot of similarities between the X-Raypad Donut skates and the Obsidian Pros in terms of performance. They are very similar. I would realistically say even if you're a glass pad main, you're better going with the Obsidian Donuts because the Obsidian Pros are more expensive, don't have as good performance, and the Obsidian Donuts are universal. They work on every single kind of pad out there, where the Obsidian Dots are just like the Jade skates, where they're super situational. They can only be used on specific pads like glass pads. Yes, I understand that the Obsidian Pros are designed to be used on a glass pad, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to recommend you buy a $15 USD set of skates that only work on glass pad when you can can spend $11.99 USD and buy the Obsidian donuts that work on everything and have the same performance as the Obsidian Pros. But if you are interested in learning about the Obsidian Pros, I will have the product page down in the video description. There will be an affiliate and a non-affiliate option. You can choose whatever one you want. If you want to support the channel, you can use the affiliate link. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and maybe subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future reviews. And if you want to support the channel and everything I'm doing here, you can become a member. It is only $2 Canadian and you can support everything going on in the channel here, and you get your name in the credits of videos. And if you'd like to learn more about the Obsidian donuts I've talked about so much in this video, you can check out my review of the X-Raypad Obsidian and Jade donut skates. I'll have that linked at the end of this video. But that is everything for today. Thank you very much again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.